Right, fellas, we're back in Gran Turismo, and I thought, well, I bested the BMW M6 GT3 around the Nürburgring, but this time let's kick it up a notch and do the same thing with an even faster, an even more hardcore, a much harder to drive car. And I thought, what better way to do that but by doing the Lewis Hamilton time trial challenge. So this time around we're using the Sauber C9, the LeMans winning Mercedes monster, Group C of the 90s, an absolute handful this car. And I'm gonna attempt to get as close as I can to Lewis Hamilton, if I'm lucky beat him. Oh well, I am incredibly nervous. I have previously set a record of 5 minutes and 48 seconds around this track. I mean, if you recall, the BMW I only managed to do 6 minutes 40 seconds. So the fact that this car is an entire minute faster just shows you what an absolute monster this car is around this track. It's incredibly fast, and it's also super hard to drive because it slides all over the place like a madman. But well, let's just see what the champ says, eh?
The Nürburgring Nordschleife. This track is the longest track in the world and the toughest track in the world. So of all the tracks you're doing on this game, there's no way that you're going to have one that's even tougher than this one. Remembering each sector is really probably key. I've had the experience of driving there back in the day when I was in Formula 3. We were actually racing on the GP circuit, but in the evening I got to go and take my smart car around the track, which, as you can imagine, took forever. But really just remembering corner after corner after corner, because it's at least a 5-6 minute lap. For me, it was a lot longer than that in the smart car, but it's really just about trying to put those sectors together. So the way I practice is chop it up into 4-5 sections if you can, and it's really just about knowing the position that you need to have the car per corner, and repetition practice on this lap is definitely needed. So yeah, I just want to say have fun. I definitely love driving this track. As I said, it's my favorite. I hope it's the favorite for you.
Well, I gotta say, Lewis, this is in fact my favorite track ever, hands down. I mean, it is incredibly important, like getting the perfect line for this track. Oh, the line is so important, getting the right perfect racing line, knowing the sectors, knowing the entire track, all the bumps, all the undulations, it's so important. Oh man, right, so 5 minutes 48, time to beat 5 minutes 40 with 8 seconds to spare. Nürburgring Nordschleife in the Mercedes Sauber C9, or I suppose in Germany they would call it Sauber. It's kind of weird. Sauber in Germany means clean, so it's the Mercedes clean. Well, let's just go. Immediately the car's grunting with an angry engine, and immediately around the first corner I nearly overcook it, and it is already sliding on the first bumps on turn 1. I'm being incredibly careful through the first sector here. I know I am confident in the first sector, so I just really went all out and pushed it on those curbs and tried not to push the gas too much. This car, like I said earlier, is incredibly slippery. A little overconfidence on the gas and you're off in the grass, and of course into the barriers. Off you go, spinning, bye bye. Right, making my way up to the Flugplatz, the little jump. Wanted to be a bit confident here. I knew I could take that jump flat out, easing off the gas into the fast right-hander, down into one of the first main straights, keeping a clean line, just barely touching those curbs. Another jump. Now this is a really tricky corner, and somehow in this car it just stuck really well. I had to brake super early for the right-hander. I discovered that braking a bit late, you wouldn't be able to slow down the car enough. Keeping the car nice and steady for this midsection, heading to the fast uphill left-hander. You just gotta trust it. You just gotta trust that corner right there. Slow section. Tried to stick it nice and clean. Made sure I got a good clean exit out of that corner. That was really smooth. I mean, I don't know if you can notice, but you could probably see my throttle input is incredibly nervous. I wasn't really confident on the throttle. I'm not really great with this car. The traction control is off. Nearly slipped off that corner there, but barely just kept it on the track. Quality stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to keep it in third gear as much as I can, because third gear seems to be the optimum rev range for this car. Second gear seems to be a bit too much. If I go flat out on second gear, the wheels just spin and I don't want to risk that, especially not on this track. Slowing down nice and hard for the left hairpin. I kind of went offline there, but I had to steer it back and I managed to make up some good time. Quick time check, we are 1 second, just about a second over Lewis Hamilton. Not the best, I agree, but this is still pretty good. We're almost halfway around the track and we are just a second behind Lewis Hamilton. We are catching up, making up some good time. Fast sector, braking, sweeping into the right-hander, nice and slow, carrying as much throttle to the second gear. That was brave of me. And off to the high-speed section, the second high-speed section of the game, right before the carousel. This part was quite a tricky bit, especially at the final bit. I kind of lost control a bit. You'll see for yourself what happens. Taking it nice and clean. On the BMW, this corner was also just as tricky, but yeah, I kind of overshot it here. I was a bit too confident with the throttle. I thought I could make it. I hit the barrier, lost 1 extra second to Hamilton, so we are about 2 seconds behind him. Managed to slow down enough for the tight right-hander up to the carousel. That was a shame there, oh man, that was such a terrible corner. I could have shaved off a whole second if I hadn't hit that barrier. Coming off the carousel nice and clean. It was very, very slippery on the carousel. Keeping the car on the concrete was quite tricky. Going uphill, keeping it on the road, not on the grass. Alright, so now we're at the top of this entire track. Slow downhill descent with the sweeping turns left and right. Just keeping it in the middle, trying to clip the curbs as much as I can. I can be confident here. The curbs are relatively flat. Nailing my braking points, keeping full concentration, maximum attack. Just really being careful on the brakes, because I know this car is unforgiving with the brakes, especially if you brake too late. If you miss your point, bam, you're off. Keeping it steady. I had some real guts using second gear through most of these corners, because I felt like third gear wasn't just giving me enough speed out of the corners, and I needed that extra torque to propel me forward. Alright, jump coming up, another scary one. I'm glad I got this corner right. The key is trail braking, my friends. The key is clean, smooth trail braking into the corner. Find the right midpoint of the corner, flat out through the high-speed section, the left, right, left. Coming on toward the straight. Got a good exit there. I was a bit slow here. I know this is where I think I lost about a half a second here, and I got now we are 3 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. Coming onto the mini carousel and onto the main straight, the Dottinger Ho. Steadily making my way through, carrying as much speed as I can. That wasn't the perfect line, but that was quick, or at least I felt like it was. Into fifth gear, down the straight. We're doing 300, 340, 345, nearly 350 kilometers an hour down the straight, going uphill, easing my way to the right so we can prepare for that left descent. Slowly right past the bridge, off we go, and this is tricky. This part gives me super scared. Break in a straight line, ease it through the slow right-hander, cruise it home, left, and the final corner, down to second gear, smoothing it, inching it not on the grass, and 5 minutes, 43 seconds. That is, whoo! I can't believe I pulled that off on a controller. Holy guacamole. Okay, 5 minutes 40 on a controller. 3 seconds behind the maestro, Lewis Hamilton. Can you believe it? Oh Lord, that was a good one. That was a really good run. I am proud of myself. 500k, I'll take that. Take that any day. That was a good run, guys. 3 seconds behind an F1 driver on the Nürburgring. That is a proud moment. That is a really good moment. If it weren't for that crash, it would have been 2 seconds, but yeah, big moment. Nürburgring, Mercedes Sauber C9. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.